A CRUD application is a type of software application that allows user to create, read, update and delete data from a data store, typically a database. So these are four basic operations that form the foundation of most modern web applications. Here, create adds new data to the database, read, retrieves and display data from the database, update, modifies existing data in the database, delete, removes data from the database. So CRUD applications are the most foundational for most apps. It's a backbone of most database driven applications. Without these basic operations, you wouldn't be able to interact with or modify any data. So my tech stack is MEAN Stack, a powerful and efficient combination of technologies. The M in MEAN stands for MongoDB, which is a NoSQL database. It stores data in a flexible JSON-like format. This database is highly scalable and works seamlessly with the JavaScript. And the E stands for Express.js, a lightweight and flexible web application framework built on the top of Node.js. It simplifies building RESTful APIs, which is essential for modern web apps that needs to communicate with the database. And next we have Angular, that A in MEAN. Angular is a front-end framework developed by Google. It's designed for building dynamic single-page applications which rich user interfaces. Finally, Node.js is the N in MEAN. Node.js is a JavaScript runtime environment that allows me to run JavaScript on the server side. I can use the same language JavaScript for both the front and back end, making the development process smoother and it's like more streamlined. Now let's go for the coding purpose. So if you observe my repository, I have the application name called CRUD. In this we need to see definitely that readme. If you observe that backend and frontend is there, right? So once we'll see the readme file. So in the readme file we have a lot of instructions. So what we have to do, so the CRUD for that, actually this is a, already told you, this is a MEAN Stack application, CRUD application. Those kind of things are all displayed here. See the full stack CRUD application using the MEAN Stack. What are the stack they are using? Those kind of things are updated in readme file. So see here, what are the things a user can do. User will be able to create, retrieve or update data. So those are the things updated in the readme file. To understand, who can see the code. And next, the how to set up this project. See, by setting the Node.js server, we need to move to the backend folder. We have two folders, backend and frontend, right? So there we have to install npm. We know that Node package manager, right? So I already told you for the front and backend I'm using Node. So then you can update the MongoDB credentials, modifying such a file located in the location. They have given the location of the file where we need to update the MongoDB credentials. That means first we need to initialize the MongoDB, then we are moving to the backend part. So that is why here they mentioned once the DB is established, then we got the credentials that is updated in the app/config file. So see, in the app we have that config, right? See, this is the db.config.js. Here we need to mention update the DB credentials. Okay, so next go to the readme and see next, after updating that we need to start the server with the node server.js command. See, we have the server.js file. Where we have the file, we need to run the command there itself. Okay, so that is the thing we are going to do. And next thing, for front end part we have Angular client. So same kind of thing what we have done in the backend, same like cd front end. Here also we need to do a work with npm and make the server running, and see the same update thing kind of things are here also. So you can modify such a file to adjust how the front end interacts with the backend. So what does it means? We need to update the backend credentials in the front end. So that means it will communicate with the backend. Okay, so then with the public IP we can see that. So see how the architecture will be this application. Then you will understand. So I will take that 3 blocks. Okay, the first one is I will name it as a DB, and the next one backend, right? And the last one named as frontend. Okay, so what are the things they are mentioned in the readme file? If you observe the things, MongoDB and frontend, backend, they need to communicate with each other. So let us see how they are communicating. The backend communicating with the DB to get the details, right? And the front end communicating with the backend. Okay, so that is the thing. And now how the user will interact with that by using, we know, the internet. So this is the user interface. Okay, so the front end will be exposed to the internet by the port number 80. Then the user will get the result from the internet to his interface. Okay, there you will see the front end part. So this is the application part. So once the user given the request, it goes to the internet and to the front end by using the IP. In the front end, it needs to communicate with the back end, where we have configured the communication, right? See, in the readme file, we will update that kind of service.js file. So with that, it will communicate with the backend. So once the request went to backend, it needs to communicate with the DB. So how it will communicate with the DB? So in the readme file, they have mentioned db.config.js file. It should be updated, right? So with that file, our backend is communicating with the DB. So once we'll see the CRUD application part. Okay, for need to start the application, we need to create a server and enabling the port numbers I have mentioned here. So for that, I'm using Azure here, Azure Cloud. So for that, creating a virtual machine, So you can use AWS or GCP, anything. So I'm creating a new research group here with the name of CRUD RG, and I'm giving the machine name CRUD VM, and I'm not selecting any kind of zones. So even security selected standard, and I'm taking the image. For this, I'm taking the 16 GB memory and 2 CPUs. So because the 3 applications are I'm deploying in the same server, in the same machine, so that a single is enough for me. So the entire 3 applications I'm deploying in the same server, in the single server, so that 2 CPUs are enough. Now I'm giving the username and password for logging into my machine. Password, username admin12, and password. And I'm allowing my ports. SSH22 is for secure shell, and in addition to, I'm selecting port 80 for internet access also. Next, disk. Here I'm taking standard HDD. That is enough for my application. No need to select SSD. So then networking, by default it's created a virtual network and a subnetwork, but public IP not created. That is why I'm creating new. Nothing I'm giving, just click OK. So that's it, enough for my virtual machine. Review and create, and it's creating. So it's showing that 10.4825 NR per hour regarding my configuration of my virtual machine. If you see that cost, so I selected the HDD and RAM 16 GB. For that it costs around 10.4825. So I initialized the deployment. Meanwhile, we'll go to the code part. See front end and back end. We'll see the front end and back end. If we see the back end, we have multiple files, and the front end, see, with this we can say it is a node project. So this is all about the readme, and it's deploying its process. Let's wait for some time. So meanwhile, we'll see what are the things we are going to work with the MongoDB port number. So today we'll deploy the MongoDB using Docker. So easiest way to deploy MongoDB, because manually take times, and with the Docker we can create it with a username and password, and remaining all the things we will deploy manually. Today we'll see only the manual deployment in this session. Okay, for that purpose we need to install Docker. So after installing the Docker, we using the docker run command, we will install the MongoDB. Okay, deployment is completed. I'll go to the virtual machine. So I'll connect to my virtual. First of all, network settings I will check, because I need to enable some port numbers. Let me check network settings. Yeah. So here enable 22 and 80 ports are allowed, right? So, and in addition to that, I need to allow few more ports for that MongoDB and remaining point of view. So let us see. I will select that service MongoDB. Yes, then automatically takes the port, and I'm giving the name as DB, and I'm enabling the port by clicking add. Right. For the next part, for the application part, backend part, I need to enable 8080, and the 80 and 22 already done, right? Both while creating the machine itself we created. So now for the backend part, we need to enable 8080 port. So create port rule, inbound port rule. It's already there, 8080, and give some name like no, app or backend. That's better, right? Click add, then it's creating the security rule. So only these ports are enabling for our server. Okay, so now once we connect to our machine, we need to install Docker for deploying our DB container by using Docker, right? So for that purpose, this is the command to install Docker. This is the script actually. So let me connect to my machine. So here I'm using my public IP. I'm using putty with a third-party tool, connect to my virtual machine. Okay, open. So accept, and I'm giving my login credentials, username admin12, and password I'm typing, but it won't show the password. That's a Linux feature. Okay, it's logging. Yes, right. Now we'll do the sudo user, we'll convert to sudo user. Okay, then nothing is there, it's a brand new machine, right? So I'll install, no, I will update my system first. So for that, apt update -y, updating my machine. Let it update. Okay, done. Now we'll check, is there anything? No. So no files are there. So we need to copy that application. Before that, we need to install Docker first to start the DB, right? So for that, I'm copying the command. Actually, it downloads a shell script. Let us see the shell script. Okay, now we got the get-docker.sh file. So to execute this shell script, we need to click sh file name, then it will execute and it will download the Docker into our virtual machine. So let it download, let it install. So meanwhile, so after that, I need to give this command to install, to start a Docker container with the MongoDB. I'm using docker run command. This is my container name. I'm using the port number 27017, and for logging into the DB, definitely we need to give that username and password, right? So for that, root and password are the credentials. So I'm enable the same port numbers or not. I'm check that one. So here in this DB, it's kind of a stateful application, right? For that purpose, we need to give the username and password. So MongoDB init DB root username is equal to root. Anything you can give instead of root, that's your wish. And the password also your wish. So those are the most important things while creating a container, like a stateful container. So now I will copy the command and I'll paste there. Then my DB is ready. So meanwhile, let's check that application is ready or not. It's taking time. Okay, almost finish. Yes, finish. Okay, let's check Docker is running or not. Docker -fn version. It will show the what is the version we are using. It's a 28.4.0. Okay, next Docker ps, no containers are there. Docker images, nothing is there. So let's start with the DB. So I already told you, first we need to establish the DB. Once the DB is established, then we'll go for the remaining. Once the DB is established, we'll get the user ID and password that we need to give in the backend. So next backend will be created, and the third one frontend. So the DB is, once the DB is established, then we'll get the credential that will be updated in the backend. Then only we can connect to the we can create the communication. So let us see how to do that. Okay, first we'll start with the docker run command to start DB services. Okay, I just copied and paste, and it's not to unable to find image locally. Then it's pulling the image and pulling all the layers, and it's creating the my database using Docker. By using Docker we can create easily, but first I will show how to deploy the manual method. So that are the things, root and password we need to remember, because we need to mention in the application backend part. So that is created. Let's check docker ps. Yes, our DB is created and up and running 11 seconds, right? So that's good. Okay, the DB is finished. So next thing, they mention everything clear in the readme file. Once the DB is created, we need to go to the backend part and npm install. We need to follow all the instructions given in there. So for that purpose, we need this code, right? So now Control L, I'm clearing the screen, that's it. So the DB is running. I should collect the DB credentials, right? So now I will take, so once I get the credentials of DB, then only, it's like username and password, then only I can enter into the backend, then the connection will be established, right? So it's login by using user ID and password. So before that, it needs to communicate with the container IP. In that container only, it can using that user ID and password then communicate. So once the request starts from the backend, it will receive it, go to the container IP, then log in with the user ID and password, right? So for that, we need the container IP. Let us check how to see the container IP of our DB. So docker inspect is the command to see the IP address of our container. So let us see. Yes, we'll get the container IP here. 172.17.0.2 is the our container IP, right? Okay. So only docker is there, right? So now I'm cloning the code into my local. So code, select http link, git clone URL. Yes, I cloned the entire code into my machine. So now I got CRUD application, right? So I'm moving into the CRUD, cd CRUD, list the files, and now I have the backend, frontend, and readme file. Yes, okay. Let's start working with the backend part. The first thing what we have to do is, if you see that thing, here they mentioned cd to backend, right? If you want to establish the backend, we need to change the directory to the backend. So then see npm install, he mentioned that. So let's see npm install, but it won't works because we don't have node in our local. So that is why we need to install with the package manager called apt. So now we'll install with the package manager apt install npm. Yes, then the node will be downloaded into our machine. So meanwhile, see in the readme file, so update the MongoDB credentials by modifying those kind of files. We'll see dbconfig.js, which is located in app config. These are the most important things we need to work out to establish communication between the app and DB, right? So what are the things we need to update? Container IP and DB username and DB password. Okay, so these are the things we need to update it where in the backend. Now we are in backend, right? So once that completed, we need to update this DB container IP, username and password. Okay, right, to establish the communication between the backend and DB. Okay, so let's see. So it's taking too much time. Even though I've taken 16 GB of RAM, it's taking time, right? So let it, it's unpacking, preparing. So once npm install, actually what will happen, okay, now we'll see. I already told you to enable our port numbers for the backend to DB. We need to enable 27017, and for front-end to backend we enable 8080, and outside world we are exposing through the port number 80. So these are the port numbers definitely we need to enable in our server level, then only the communication will be established, right? Okay, so when you run npm install in a Node.js project, actually it takes place to set up your project environment and install dependencies you need for the application, right? So it actually install dependencies listed in package.json, and create update node modules directory, and create or update package log.json, resolve dependencies, including transitive dependencies also, and post installation scripts, and it will check is there any missing dependencies and all. And mostly it was in production environment you can use npm install -n production to skip installing dev dependencies. um, so okay, let it finish. Yep, finished. Okay, right, now we'll see it's having the packet.json files. Now in the readme file, see, we need to update MongoDB credentials in db config file, which is located in app/config. Now we'll go to that place. Okay, to establish communication between the app and server, we need to do this. cd app, in that app he mentioned config directory, where we have db.config.js. okay, we need to update this file with the db credentials, right? So let us update. So I already told you in the diagram we need to update these things in the config file. Okay, now I'm using vi editor, vidb.config.js. now see here we need to mention that our database URL, so name, username and password. So if you observe these things, I already told you. The next one is, see, to edit this I went to insert mode. So in place of Mongo I need to give my DB IP. So what is the DB IP we have seen in the I forgot that one. Okay, let's see, 172 or something. Okay, let's save this and I will check again, nothing problem. So docker ps, I will get the container details, docker inspect. Yes, container ID. Okay, it's 172 dot. Okay, I'll copy that and again modify error. I will write. Okay, so these are the things I updated in DB. Let us see, and the port number 27017 I given there to communicate backend with the DB. This is the port number. And next, I'll save and quit, write and quit. Now once the configuration is done, let me check. So see, update container IP, as we have done that, and with the URL. Okay, that is also we have covered. Next, npm install. Then we need to start the server. So before that, we need to check the URL, whether it is working fine or not with the 8080 port, because the backend runs on 8080 port, right? Let's check. No, it's not working because the server is not running. Okay. See, actually I have done one mistake here. So with the error consideration, we will check that later. So I will start the server, then I will check. So we need to solve mostly errors. Okay, that is why I done a mistake wantedly. Let's see what is the impact of the error. So I'll go to the backend directory because we have the server.js there. So I started. See here the error. So cannot find module express. So it's saying server.js something like there is something wrong with the server.js file. So see, let's debug the error what we have done. So mostly server.js file what we have used. Again we'll see node server.js, we are running the same error. So if you observe the error, so again we'll see nothing, output is coming. So see, again we will update the packages. Is it solve the problem or not? Let us see. So this time it's done very fast. Added 150 180 something packages. Let's see, is it solve our problem or not? I will show you what is the error we have done. So even small error, it makes a lot of difference. See, server is running on port 8080, but no database is connected. Actually, if it connected to database, it will show that message also, but here it's not showing anything message regarding database. So we need to find out where the issue. So what is the main issue with the database where we have given the connection? See, if we refresh, the message coming, welcome to the test application, and we need to check with the API/tutorial. Yes. Now see. So nothing. So for that purpose, let's debug the issue. Okay. Now so what are the things we have considered to communicate with to the DB? Let us see that. Go to app, cd config, and check this one. Here the thing we have given, we have established the communication, right? Now see here. So everything is correct, right? Where is the mistake? See the dot. So that is enough to break down our entire application, right? Now I erased that one and I am doing again. Wait, I need to do it again. npm install. Now I am updating the packages. Now it's done. Everything up to date. Now I will start the server. Okay. Now we'll come back to the backend directory because we are in config, that is why it's not executing. Okay, let's see. Now we'll start the server, node server.js. Now see, server is running on port 8080, at the same time connected to the database, right? The last time we didn't get this kind of messages. Now we are getting that message because our backend is successfully connected to the database. Okay, and our application is running on, backend is running on 8080. Now we'll see the output, right, with a /API/tutorials. Okay, now we have successfully established the connection between the backend to the DB. Okay, now we need to configure front end part. So same like backend, we need to configure front end, but see, in this interface I cannot do anything. Once I started the backend server here, so there is no option to do anything here. So we need to take a duplicate session for front end part. So because we are doing completely manual, right? So I'm logging with my credentials in another window. So like admin password, okay, right. So I'm switching to sudo user. I'm updating the same mission. So it's a duplicate session. Why? Because it's not responding. See, because it's a server is on running node. So see, if I type anything also, it won't take anything. See, nothing, no response. So if I done Control C, then it stop running the server. See, running. Now it's not getting any output. Let's see. See, the site can't be reached. So once the node server has started, so nothing to do with the this window. So that I open another duplicate version, duplicate window where I am establishing the front end configuration. Okay, so let's see this. So the same, switching to the CRUD application directory. Okay, so I am going to the front end part, changing directory to front end. See here, the front end, once we go to the front end part, it's a Angular client. We need to go to front end, and there we have to install npm, the same thing. So before going to that, we need to update, modify something like tutorial service.ts. okay, so interact with the backend, that kind of file. So I'll go to directly to that file, copy, and okay, now I am in front end using vi editor. Wait, something. Okay, vi directly I am editing that file because that URL is the given, right? Simply I'm copying and pasting the URL. Okay, now file is open. Now see the here constant base URL is nothing but we need to update here the backend URL. So see what we need to change here, only the local host, right? Instead of local host, we need to give the IP address of our backend. So I'm going to the insert mode, and I selected that thing, then copy this IP address, copy, so I'm removing and I'm pasting here. So with that HTTP also came, so I will remove that thing. Okay, so next, okay, save and quit. So here also I done something to get error, we'll see that later. So once the URL paste, the same thing, we need to install the npm install. Now the building starting. So in this front end, actually we'll get a dist folder. Okay, so same like while working with the Java application, we'll get a kind of artifact, right? So same like here we are getting dist folders. Now we have npm install, right? So we already discussed about node modules kind of things. Let us see. Once it's done, it will create a node modules with the npm install command. Let us see. Okay, it's compiling. You can observe HTTP codes are there. Okay, further sessions we will discuss about the HTTPs, and see if you observe that node modules is generated, right? Now the next thing is we need to let us see what is this node modules. So I already told you these are the packages and dependencies, everything will be under node modules. Okay, so now come back to the front end. Now see, npm run build will get a dist folder. Okay, once we execute this one, then we'll discuss what is dist folder. So we'll get a dist folder. So npm run build, right? So it's dist folder is a sort of distribution. It's a directory or folder that contains the compiled, modified and production ready version of your application or project. So actually in Java projects we'll get artifacts, right? So here we'll get a dist folder. It contains the output of our build process. Okay, it's kind of ready for deployment folder. So let us see, it's building. So in Java projects we will call as an artifact. Software development refers to the deliverable or output produced during the development build. We'll call it an artifact. Here we will call a node it's a dist folder. So see, the dist folder is here. It's a production ready build. It's having the production ready build of entire project. Okay, let's see. Now our build part is also completed. We have the dist folder now. So now check with the IP. Can we see our application output? No, right? So we all know we need to keep that folders in a particular server. If it is a Java project, we need to install in a Tomcat, but here we will keep in this folder in a Nginx server. So for that I'm installing apt install Nginx. So once I done the installations, let me check the output with that IP. See, welcome to Nginx. This is the default page of the Nginx server. So we need to remove this default page and we need to keep our dist folder content in that area. So where is the default content will be? Okay, we need to keep the dist folder in that default path. So let us see what is the default path of Nginx and where the welcome to Nginx file is there. So for that, cd/var/www/html. Okay, see, list out. So here we have .html file which is having all the content that is displaying in the browser. See, so the same content, right? So got it. So we need to remove the entire content and we keep our dist content in that directory, then we'll get the output. See, we need to remove the index.html file, we need to keep the dist content. Okay, this is the most important thing. We need to keep our data into the Nginx server. This is the procedure. So let's back to our front end directory. Okay, right, here we have the dist folder. So before going to copy the dist folder, we need to remove the content which is there in the default directory of Nginx. So that is why I'm copying the command here and I'm pasting. Yes, this will remove what are the content there in the where www.html. So remove the content, then check the public IP, then 404 not found because we removed the content in that directory, right? Now we need to keep this dist in that var www.html. So for that, what is the command? Sudo cp-r. Simply copy and paste that command here. Now break down the command sudo cp-r recursively. What are the content there in the dist? Actually in the dist angular 15 CRUD is there. In that star means whatever there in whether directory or everything should be copied in the where www.html content. Okay, now see. Okay, okay, because we mentioned, see the html slash, that is why html also gone. For that we need to go to the var www and we need to create a html directory there. So we forgot to mention slash star, so that is why html is gone. So mkdir html. Okay, now the directory is created. Now get back to our front end, right? So now the commands will work, right? See, I already told you I have done a mistake, so now we'll see the output. Okay, right. So our application is on live. See, the application is live, but what I told you, what we have to do with this application, we need to create, read, update and delete. Let us check those things. So add, so clicking add, I'm giving something data, so test or something. Okay, let it be test, description something, select something, submit. So but it's not storing the data, right? Only we can enter the data, but we cannot read, we cannot store the data. So why? So check F12 and see the console output to see the error. So what is the error? Slash API tutorials not responding. That means backend is not responding. So did you got my point? Here the problem is, so the backend server is not responding. So let us decode that one. So I already told you connection are the most important thing. So let us go to the connection part. cd src, in that okay, services. So I'm explaining here with the errors, most common errors. Tutorial.ts. Right. See here, what I've done the mistake with the public IP, I kept slash here. So that is the reason it's not reading that, means it's not responding with the backend. It's not communicating with the backend. Now I erase this one and I am write and quit. So got the error. So right, and if I restart also, it won't come because so once that is completed, means building dependence package, we need to restart the front end app again. So we need to do it from the first. Let us see. Once we'll check with the public IP. Okay, the same error will come again and again if you updated also, because it's already done. So for that purpose, what we have to do, go to the server, we need to do it from the start. We need to do it again. Let's do that. So I done everything again. So now we'll get the list folder again. So see, with the small error we need to do it again. That is a problem in the manual method. So the same kind of things I'm doing again. So that is the problem with the manual methods. If we get any error, we need to debug from the starting to ending. Once we found out that, we need to do it again. So that the issues we are going with the automation purpose, we'll get the error very fast and we can resolve it very fast. For the next sessions, we'll go with the automation part with the Docker files. Okay. So now check. We can use 80 or not. 80 is the default port. Now click add. Now I'm giving some data. Add test something, submit. See, now it's successfully submitted. That means the data we have entered, that is completely stored by database. Now we can create and we can read, update. We have done updating, and now we'll check with the delete option also. See, go to that return, select the test. We can read from the existing data, right? So now the last option, delete, remove all. So that means we are deleting the existing data. Now again I'm adding data, test, hello, submit, successfully store the data, multiple adds, test 1, multiple times I'm adding. Okay, check the tutorials, select. So now I can read any data which is present in the DB. So this is all about our application. So once we started the application, we are not able to touch that one. So in the front end, these kind of all the things we will do with the Docker file in the next session. Okay, it makes more easier to deploy and find the bugs easily. So in the next session, if you want the next session, comment below automation. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you.